Nirankari ji.
Nirankari ji.
May I join you for langar?
Hanji, of course. So, Samneet ji, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just enjoying life. How about you?
Same old for me. I'm busy with mom duties, office duties.
Makes sense. Well, I'll be honest, Regd ji. I've been getting quite busy ever since I graduated college. Feels like there's always something that has to be done. And I'm always running behind, you know? There's so much on my plate, from job hunting to helping my parents, and even coming to Sangat and trying to stay focused on Nirankar. Honestly, I feel like I'm not doing enough in both my practical and spiritual life.
You sound like me 20 years ago. And you know what? I still struggle with the same thing. My struggles are just different now. The challenges never stop. But the answer has always been the mission's message, which is connecting to the formless one. From retro times to real times, this message of the mission has always been the same.
I feel like I struggle with cultivating a connection with Nirankar, while also being a part of the practical world. And that's what got me thinking. The mission has changed so much just over the last 50 years. And when I look at the older Mahabush, feels like they were doing so much more. Yeah, and my mom always tells me stories about the lengths saints used to go to spread the message, or simply just attend Sangat. She'd tell me how saints used to travel village to village, walking for hours to share Babaji's teachings.
Yeah, that's right. People would even walk miles and miles to attend Samagam.
Exactly. Yet here I am, complaining about being busy when I literally have access to everything on my phone. I can pull up a vichar on YouTube anytime I want.
Oh, not just YouTube. I'm seeing vichars on Reels nowadays.
Right? Makes me wonder, am I taking it all for granted? Am I simply not as devoted as they were?
That's such a thoughtful reflection, Samneet ji. I'm really glad you're asking these questions. It shows your enthusiasm and devotion to build this connection with Nirankar. It sounds like you're questioning whether having easier access somehow makes the connection not strong enough. Tell you what, since you have a lot of great questions, why don't you join me for a Soul Vibes episode? The topic is actually this: retro to reels. Message, not the medium. I'm sure Mahabush have the same questions and we can get insights from saints.
That sounds really exciting. I'll be there. Wait, will there be chai?
Welcome to this month's episode of Soul Vibes. I'm Riddhi.
And I am Samneet.
Today's episode is about retro to reels. Message, not the medium. The message of love, truth, and unity has been the same from ancient times to modern times. It is just the medium that evolves to meet us where we are. So, Samneet ji, as we were talking earlier, you were questioning whether the ease of access that technology of today provides makes your spiritual connection any different from Mahabush who came before you.
Yeah, so I found this cassette in my mom's room yesterday. And she said my grandpa used to really treasure it and would listen to it over and over. And I went back to thinking about the example of Mahabush waiting weeks at a time to hear a single vichar. Now I have hundreds of vichars at my fingertips, accessible with a single tap. And it feels like all of their struggle to understand this divine knowledge makes their devotion better than mine somehow.
Can I ask you something? Do you think that divine knowledge changes?
No.
Look around us right now. We have these old Avtarbani cassettes sitting right next to modern recording equipment. Both serve the same purpose in their time, spreading the Satguru's message. The cassette wasn't less sacred than the handwritten manuscript, and the digital recording isn't any less meaningful than the cassette. It hasn't changed. It has just become more accessible.
So you're saying that the message has never changed?
What do you think? When your grandpa listened to those cassettes and when you watched Sadguru Mata Sudiksha Ji Maharaj's videos, is the core message of love, humility, and universal brotherhood any different?
No, it's not. It's the same message, just delivered in a way that speaks to my generation. But Regd ji, if that is true, then why do I still feel like I'm not doing enough? Like, I want to be more connected, but with everything going on in my life, I feel like I'm always falling short somehow.
Samneet Ji, you're definitely not alone in feeling this way. The world we live in today is so different, even from 20 years ago. Our jobs, our pace of life, the way we communicate, everything has evolved.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how do I know if I'm doing it right? Sometimes I feel like I'm not connected enough with Nirankar. Like other saints seem to have it all figured out.
These are such important questions, and I can see you're really curious about how to live mission's teachings in today's world. So let's do this. Let's invite some of our fellow Mahabush to join this conversation. Dhaninkar Sneha Ji, thanks for joining us today.
Dhaninkar Reddy Ji, Dhaninkar Samneet Ji.
Dhaninkar Sneha Ji.
I was listening to your discussion. You have some very interesting thoughts.
I've been reflecting a lot recently, and I have to be honest. I feel like I'm lacking in my spirituality. When I look back at the older generations, their devotion was so tangible. Mahabush used to walk miles and miles to go to Sangat, and that too multiple times a week. They would take up manual labor seva in heat and would religiously read scriptures and at a moment's notice be able to recite any line from the Avatar Bani. Whereas I can't even remember a single line off the top of my head. Though I am grateful for today's technologies, it makes me feel like I got it easy, and maybe I don't appreciate it enough. Is it a bad thing that I have it so easy?
That's a great point you bring up. But you forget the obstacles that we face. Sure, we have vichars one click away, but distractions are also one tap away. These algorithms are designed to trap us and keep us stuck in this materialistic web. The world is ever changing, and our problems and ways of life keep evolving. Therefore, the mission keeps evolving to give us the answer to the problems that we are facing right now. Back in Baba Butta Singh Ji's time, their challenge was the lack of technology, which made it difficult to spread the message. They overcame this obstacle by walking from village to village, Brahm Gyan spread by footsteps and through living examples. In contrast, under Satguru Mata Sudiksha Ji Maharaj, we have modern technology, which brings various mediums for communication. While having multiple mediums where we discuss and hear about spirituality, we also have to comb through all the materialistic noise, both in our physical lives as well as online. However, today, Satguru Mataji is actively addressing this by telling us to detach ourselves from this ever online world while we're in Sangat. Moreover, she's increasing the mission-related content so that we can still remember the truth while we're online. She's still spreading the same message.
Yes.
The challenges have changed, the mediums have evolved, but the message is the same.
That's so beautifully put, Sneha Ji. I see it in my family itself. The 3 generations at home that we live together, they have varied perspectives on life, but I see the same bliss and joy when we attend any Samagam. It's amazing how different generations relate to the same Gyan. But I wonder, how is that even possible given so many differences?
That's what makes having a Satguru so special. The Satguru changes form and approach to meet our needs, but the message remains eternal. The Avatar Bani tells us, Aval Virab Malike, Te Akhir Virab Valiye. This means that Nirankar is the beginning and the end. The message is unchanging because Nirankar is unchanging. From retro to reels, from footsteps to fiber optics, it's always been about faith, love, and oneness.
Change is inevitable. And thus, to stay relevant, methods must change. And that's why the mediums being leveraged today are different. They have adapted to the world that we live in.
This is making a lot of sense. However, I feel that when I speak in Sangat, I rarely share anything from the scriptures. When I hear other Mahapurush speak and they share these quotes, I feel like I'm still lacking.
I understand what you're feeling, and I'm sure many of us can relate. But literature is just a medium for the message of Satguru to travel across. But is it the only one?
No.
Nowadays, whether you listen to an audiobook or Voice Divine, it is getting the message to us. Even though encouraged, no one says that reading literature is the only way to get clarity. All of these are simply mediums, and we must find what works best for us in our spiritual journey. Nirankari Rajpita Ji said, in a vichar, it is not about where we are, but how open we are. And as he elaborated, Satguru's message always finds an open heart.
Vaji.
Sadguru Mataji is showing us the way. Whether you are retro in scriptures or into reels, an open and kind heart is all that is needed. In the end, it falls on us to put in the effort to receive and retain this knowledge. Let's be curious and seek knowledge through all the resources that Satguru has made available to us. If, for some reason, something doesn't make sense, there are so many learned saints in the mission that we can reach out to and get guidance.
I remember I struggled with this, but we can make practical changes and make time for literature and media. We all commute to work, school, and other places, and there are times when we listen to music or scroll through reels. And while that's great, we can allot at least some time to listen to a vichar or a voice divine episode. We can begin to connect to the mission through different mediums. These all include snippets of the literature that we want to read. If we keep putting in efforts, our knowledge will eventually grow. The mission's process is not forced, rather, it flows. Before you even know it, it beautifully shapes how you think, live, and speak.
You know, our youth is so talented. They are using new mediums to spread the mission's message. In the recent Seattle Samagam, they made a rap using the mission's teachings. The message is the same, but the medium is modern, which our youth can relate to.
Yeah, that rap was so cool. I really connected with it. Thank you so much for the clarity. I am beginning to understand the mission's evolution and how it benefits us.
I'm glad. And remember, the mission is timeless. It meets every generation exactly where they need to be met.
What a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your insights, Neha Ji.
Thank you for having me, Ji.
So, Samneet Ji, how are you feeling about everything now?
Honestly, I feel so much lighter. I was carrying this guilt about not being traditional enough, but now I see that embracing the modern forms of connection is actually part of the mission's design. Though I do still have some questions about the practical stuff. Like, how do I actually stay connected in my busy life, you know?
Of course, understanding the bigger picture is just the beginning. The real challenge is living it day to day. Nirankari Rahul Ji, thank you for joining us today.
Nitika G, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Rahul Ji, we have been talking about how the mission has evolved through different eras and how the same message reaches us through different mediums. And now we want to focus on how to stay connected in day-to-day life.
Yes, like I hear this all the time in Sangat. Everyone keeps saying I should remember Nirankar more, do more Simran. But I feel like in my busy life, I'm not able to remember Nirankar during the day at all. Between classes, work, assignments, social commitments, my mind is just constantly occupied with the next thing I need to do. And when I do try, it feels like I often wander off and start thinking about other things.
That's such a relatable struggle, Sumneji. And you know what? I think this is another perfect example of how the message stays the same, but we need to adapt medium to our current reality.
What do you mean?
Well, if you think about it, life is constantly changing. And the workplace we have today is not the same as the workplace we had years ago. You know how they used to say, "Hath karwal lete chit yarwal." While my hands are at work, my mind is with Nirankar. This sounds beautiful in principle. Let's be honest, it's too retro for our generation. In the past, jobs used to be often labor-based. If you were cutting down a tree or working in the fields, you still could do Simran and connect to Nirankar simultaneously. So it made sense in that era, but it's harder for us today.
Yes, I agree. Jobs today are tough. I'm sitting in my office trying to review financials of a big company and analyzing trends through 4 different systems, trying to find what next steps to take for the company's investments. I'm so focused on data that Doing Simran while analyzing feels impossible.
And that's okay, Ridhiji. We are not failing at spirituality. We are adapting to reality. You know what's interesting? In the workplace, they actually recommend taking stretch breaks or eye breaks every couple of hours, like mental breaks to keep you refreshed and productive. Well, why not take Simran breaks the same way? I can do Simran while stretching at my desk or while walking to get water. It makes me more healthy physically and spiritually at the same time.
So instead of trying to do constant Simran passively, you're saying that we can create active reminders on our phones to do Simran multiple times a day. You know, actually, this reminds me of this book, Atomic Habits. One strategy it shares is called habit stacking, and it means to attach a new habit to one that already exists. And I think I could apply this. So whenever I use ChatGPT, I will now do Simran, and that will help me feel connected with Nirankar.
Samneet, knowing about this generation's dependence on ChatGPT, you probably will never stop doing Simran.
Jokes apart, Samneet, you are on the right track. But remember, the message is to connect with Nirankar. The medium can be whatever works for you. As you said, it could be a phone reminder or the ChatGPT instances. We should focus more on our connection, not the medium. Let me give you a simple example of my life. When I was a kid, my mother used to be always available at home, physically around me, while she was doing all the household chores. And now my wife, Neha G, goes to work. She's not physically around our daughters all the time, but she monitors them through camera and checks in on them frequently. In that way, even while the medium evolved, the connection between the mother and the child is still the same. Similarly, irrespective of how, when, and where you do Simran, what matters is the deep connection we develop with Nirankar.
Huh. Okay, that makes sense. I see how I have to be intentional about Simran and develop a strong connection with Nirankar. But when I only have those limited moments, how do I maintain a strong connection all day long?
That's a good thought, Samneet. We can start by doing it consciously and gradually train our subconscious mind to stay connected to Nirankar. I remember Satguru Mata Sudiksha ji said in one of her vichars that you love so much that you eventually become love. We can apply the same principle to Simran.
Hang on. What does that even mean? Are you saying we should become Simran? Just like Satguru told us to become love?
Okay, let me put it in this way. You go to gym to become strong. To do this, you started with small weights and build the muscle. Look at you now. How strong.
Thank you, Rahul ji. किसी ने तो notice किया.
Same thing is for Simran. Think of Simran as that muscle that we exercise with the goal of being immersed in Nirankar. Whether it's quiet moment between meetings, a reminder on your phone, or just saying Tuhi Nirankar before you start studying, it all counts. Because it's not about being perfect, it's about being present with Nirankar, even in small ways.
Definitely. But Rahul ji, I have to ask, what if my mind still wanders during those intentional Simran moments? So I sit down to do Simran, right? And suddenly I start thinking about my next meeting, my grocery list, or what I'm going to watch on Netflix. You know, does that mean I'm doing it wrong?
No, that's normal. I understand. Simran isn't necessarily about sitting in complete silence with a blank mind. That's probably not realistic in today's world. Simran is about building a connection, creating a relationship with the divine.
So, what should we actually be doing when we sit down for Simran? Sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating the lines.
Think of repeating the lines as like knocking at a door. It invites the presence of the divine into your awareness. But what matters even more is the intention behind Simran. Yes, your mind will wander, and that's completely okay. Don't judge yourself for that. Just gently bring it back.
That makes sense. But Rahul ji, when I'm doing Simran, what am I thinking about?
Think about Nirankar, the vastness, infinite love, and kindness. Reflect on the blessings in your life. Picture Satguru's smile. Remember a moment when you felt truly connected. Simran becomes powerful when you feel it, not just you say it.
So it's more about cultivating a feeling of connection rather than perfect concentration.
Exactly. And just like we said, is training that muscle to become strong in Simran. Eventually, your mind will naturally want to go back to Nirankar. In today's world of constant input, such as notifications, email, social media, news, Simran is like a spiritual exhale that we all need. It recenters us and reminds us of what's truly important. I know we have talked about so many different aspects of Simran in our modern lives. Simran, or the connection to the formless, has stayed the same since the beginning. Only how we practice it in our modern lives is what has changed. I always go back to Vivek Shok Ji's line, "Rahbar tere charnon mein, har swaas guzar jaye."
That's such a beautiful line. Thank you so much, Rahul ji, for coming today and sharing your insights with us.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Rahul.
Thank you, Ji. This was really great conversation.
I got another comparison for you. You ready?
Le fir to? Chalo, go for it.
So basically, it's like eating a masala dosa. It's not the plate or the presentation that matters, it's the masala inside.
Really, Samneet ji, you're comparing Simran to dosa? Langar is probably a few hours away still. But let's bring our focus back to the topic with this Geet.
नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। जोश जवानों को मिले और होश बुजुर्गों का, जोश जवानों को मिले और होश बुजुर्गों का, नक्शा बन जाएगा धरती पर स्वर्गों का, नक्शा बन जाएगा धरती पर स्वर्गों का, अमन को तरस रही है धरती ने पुकारा है, अमन को तरस रही है धरती ने पुकारा है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। गुरु बचन का वचन है जो है हरिदेव का कहना, गुरु बचन का वचन है जो है हरिदेव का कहना, दे दो जवानों सबको गुरमत का गहना, दे दो जवानों सबको गुरमत का गहना, समय के सतगुरु ने भी सबको ये समझाया है, समय के सतगुरु ने भी सबको ये समझाया है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है, सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। गुरु की दीक्षा संत जनों की जिंद है और जान है। गुरु की दीक्षा संत जनों की जिंद है और जान है। मिशन की शान जवानों की भी शान है। मिशन की शान जवानों की भी शान है। हर युग में हर संत ने यही दोहराया है। हर युग में हर संत ने यही दोहराया है। नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है। नौजवानों को गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है। सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। सोई शक्ति को सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है। तू ही निरंकार, तू ही निरंकार, तू ही निरंकार, जगाया है। गुरु ने फिर बुलाया है। सतगुरु ने आप जगाया है।
What a beautiful Geet. Oh, and look, Nitika G is here too. Danankar, Nitika G. Good to have you with us today.
Danankar Ji, everyone. So sorry for being late, but this time I wasn't scrolling reels. I was actually doing Seva.
Then, Nitika Ji, you would be perfect for helping me with this confusion that I've been having.
Uh-huh.
So, a few months ago, I was doing Seva with a few Mahabush, helping them with construction. So for weeks, I was out there with hammers and tools, really putting in physical work.
That's nice.
But then I got assigned to AV Seva, doing some technical improvements and video editing work. So while I was doing AV work, I couldn't participate in that construction Seva anymore. But the saint who was leading that project kept coming to me after Sangat, saying I should do Seva. Unknowingly, he was motivating me to do Seva because he didn't know about my current involvement in the AV Seva.
I see.
Yeah, but in the back of my mind, it got me thinking. I guess I just felt invisible, like real Seva had to be physically tough or public. Should I have been out there with the construction Seva? Because AV Seva is inside the air-conditioned bhavan and on my laptop. But those Mahapurush are out in the hot sun, working hard. I started wondering if it's too easy for me. I'm not out there sweating like them.
Well, this is something that many of us quietly wrestle with. But Samneet-ji, let me ask you something. When you received the hukum to work with the AV team, did you question it then?
No, I just accepted it and tried to do my best.
And when you were doing the construction Seva, were you doing it because it was asked of you?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you already understand the essence of true Seva. For a Sevadar, it's only about the hukum. Whatever is asked of the Sevadar must be done. That is selfless Seva in the truest sense. Whether we're asked to carry bricks or edit videos, both are expressions of the same divine instruction. Baba Hardev Singh Ji Maharaj used to say, Jo Satguru da hukam manda hai, ohi asli bhagat hai. When you serve where you're placed, you're flowing with divine will, not chasing titles. It's not about the Seva we choose. It's about the surrender we offer, And with time, the medium of Seva has evolved, but the message remains the same. That Seva should be Nishkam and Nirichit.
So, it's not about the type of work, but about the willingness to serve.
Exactly. Not equal in form, but equal in faith. Seva is seva. It's not about what seva you're doing, it's about the bhav, the devotion, and the intention with which you're doing it. The power is not in the platform, but it is in the purpose. As we've heard in Sangat, Nirankar de naal judan da sab to aasan tarika seva hai. Seva is not a task. In fact, it is a connection.
But Nitika G, surely some types of seva are more important than others.
Are they? Let's take an example. In the earlier years, circulating information about Samagams used to be via handwritten letters. Saints used to walk from village to village to invite people. But now, the same seva is being done using Instagram Reels, YouTube videos, making podcasts, and even e-vites. So the medium has changed, but what's being achieved is still the same. The effort required to go door to door may have been more physical, but it is not any more or less important than the e-vite seva. Similarly, the AV seva you mentioned is just as important as the construction seva. Every seva is sacred because it serves the same purpose, helping others connect with the divine. Instead of rating the role, honor the reason. And we also learned this from the Sevadal camp held in LA this time, right? That Satguru sees not the spotlight, but the spirit, the bhav. And I'll add this too, something crucial we must remember, that seva will happen with or without us. Someone will step up to fill the gap we leave. But it's our privilege to be allowed to serve where we can. We must not build an ego around the seva, thinking that because we were in the car with the Satguru or because we did the heavy lifting, we're somehow more important. The true color of seva only emerges when the color of ego fades away.
So profound. I remember when I was very recently assigned housekeeping seva for Sadhguru's room, my family reminded me that I should not get any ego from this. It was a seva just like any other. It could very well be assigned to anyone else, but it's Sadhguru's blessings that I got to do this seva. There were certainly so many shortcomings, but my loving Sadhguru kept ignoring those with a beautiful smile, just acknowledging the bhav. There is no ranking to be put to any seva, but rather, seva is following the hukam of Sadhguru.
Acha, I never really thought about it that way. So when I was feeling like my AV work wasn't as meaningful,
You were missing the point entirely. We give our time and effort to help the people around us, regardless of the form it takes. Sadguru Mata Sudiksha Ji Maharaj tells us in her Vichars that true seva is done without expectations. When you receive a hukum for seva, that's not random. It's the divine guidance directing you where you're needed most. Trust that process. It could be preparing chai for volunteers, quietly wiping down chairs after satsang, sending thoughtful divine messages to fellow Mahatma. These are all moments of service that no one sees, but Nirankar always notices. Satguru always notices.
Yeah, I think I'm understanding it now. Nitika Ji, while you're here, can you clarify one more thing for me?
Hanji.
So this last week, I had a couple of interviews lined up, and I was burnt out preparing for them, only to realize that same week, I had committed to editing a video. When I sat down for the seva, I thought to myself, why did I say yes? But could I have even said no? Does it even count as a seva when I'm not doing it wholeheartedly?
You're asking a very important question, Samneet, especially for young sevadars. So at its core, seva is voluntary service done with a bhav. But sometimes we can have a shortage of volunteers, and some saints might need to take on multiple responsibilities.
So how do we balance that without feeling overwhelmed?
This is where we must always refer back to the mission's teachings. The fourth principle clearly states that we must not abandon our worldly responsibilities in pursuit of Nirankar. Keeping that in mind, we can find a practical approach.
So I can opt out if I need to?
Of course, you can opt out, especially if you believe you're not in the appropriate state to do that seva effectively. However, in my years of doing seva, Samneet, I have never regretted taking on a seva that was asked of me.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, ability is secondary. Baba Hardev Singh Ji Maharaj often said Your availability is more important than your ability. Nirankar doesn't ask for perfection, but just presence. When you show up, grace takes over.
I've actually experienced that. When I first started with the media seva, I had no experience or skills. But because I was available and willing, I kept getting more opportunities. And now I get to create videos for the mission.
That's the perfect example. You see, Seva is not about having all the capabilities upfront. It's about staying open and having another way to connect with Nirankar. We put our faith in the divine, that if we're being given an opportunity to serve, it's by divine grace. And we should accept it whilst knowing that Nirankar is the one doing the work. We're just the vessel. That's where you experience the magic of surrender. We're not the doers, but it's Nirankar working through us. As it said, the hands may be ours, but the power is hers.
Like Satguru Mata Sudiksha Ji Maharaj said, Seva is about showing Nirankar that we are willing. That willingness, even in small doses, is what keeps us connected and growing. Nitika Ji, before we finish, I would love to know what's one mindset shift that has helped you approach Seva differently?
For me, the biggest shift was realizing that Seva doesn't have to feel like a burden or an obligation. It started with changing my perspective on why I was doing it. For example, when I'm participating in Soul Vibes episode as part of Seva, I remind myself, I'm doing this so someone who has questions and is looking for answers can connect with the mission. This mindset makes even the smallest of tasks feel meaningful, and it reminds me that Seva isn't a chore, it's a privilege.
Oh wow, that's such a positive way to think about it.
Yeah, as Sadguru Mata Sudiksha Ji Maharaj reminds us, Satsang gives us clarity, Simran gives us connection, and Seva gives us purpose. When all three pillars work together with divine knowledge, they shape a life led by grace. Seva becomes prayer when your Seva carries purpose, and the intention turns duty into devotion.
I love that. It's so well said.
And I love all these questions you ask, Samneet. They're so important to get clarity. No matter what form the Seva takes, it fulfills the same role in our lives. Seva may look different than how it was before, but the goals laid out by Baba Bhuta Singh Ji are still relevant today. We do Seva to help spread oneness, connect with Nirankar, and fulfill the mission's vision, whether it be by ink or by Instagram.
What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you, Nitika Ji, for sharing such practical and inspiring insights.
Thank you both for such a meaningful conversation. May we all continue to serve with open hearts and willing spirits.
Riddhi ji, I have one last comparison.
Where are you even getting these ideas?
From standing in line at the tapri to door dashing chai from bed. The goal is always drink chai.
Where is the connection?
Connection nahi hai, I just need some chai.
I think we should wrap up. I would love to have a chai too.
You know, just like chai wakes me up, this conversation really woke me up. I started today feeling confused about my spiritual practice, and now I'm ending it with so much clarity about how to live these teachings in my everyday life. This has been incredible.
That's the beauty of satsang, Samneet Ji. When we come together with sincere hearts and open minds, wisdom naturally flows. And the best part is, we have been doing Seva this whole time, serving each other through an honest conversation and a shared understanding.
Exactly. Riddhi ji, I didn't even know I had all of these questions in me. My faith is so much stronger now.
That's what I'm talking about. So many different saints with so much experience pulling each other together. You know, talking to you today made me reflect on the journey from yesteryears to our present day. The changes in how I do Simran, how we practice Seva. Honestly, I'm glad you asked these questions. With changing times, the tiniest of confusions need to be taken care of to help us get a clearer picture and connect us to Nirankar.
Yeah, and I realized I feel like I should talk to my friends about these topics too. The more I talk about this, the more questions arise.
It's okay to ask questions to get clarity, because you may never know who else is wondering the same thing and may be too shy to ask the question. What's most important though is to maintain the company of saints, to keep learning and growing spiritually.
I feel like I learned so much today. I got a deeper understanding of how to practice Seva, Simran, and Satsang as our lives and the world around us evolves. Satguru communicates with us through the medium of the times, and how that message reaches us can evolve from radio to reels.
Nice.
And for Simran, I learned that even in my busy life, I can practice it intentionally, and I can leverage it to ground myself and exemplify the mission's teaching in my day-to-day life.
Beautiful.
And Seva has always been and always will be a selfless act. Even though the nature of Seva changes, we're constantly evolving with the world. But at the end of it all, the message of oneness from our Satguru is still the same.
Perfectly summarized. I couldn't have done it any better. We hope you enjoyed this retro dive while we kept you away from scrolling reels. Let's remember that the ease of access should not reduce the depth of our connection. Be a saint of today's world, but with the wisdom of all yesteryears. And before we finish, Samneet Ji, I have one comparison for you too.
Oh, now you too? Chalo, sunao.
So, from first Starbucks to Space Needle, we hope to see you in Seattle sometime soon.
So that's your 3 S's? Starbucks, Space Needle, and Seattle? Riddhi Didi, you need that chai.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you everyone for tuning into this month's Soul Vibes episode. Nirankari.